Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RHAPup here on reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and today we are going to be talking about episode 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 9. And with me today is our absolutely fantastic panel here to help me break everything down. First, let me welcome in Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I feel like a fresh slap across the face, and I'm awake in order to talk about this episode. I don't know. I was trying to come up with something. I thought this was a very interesting episode, and I'm excited to break it down with the two of you, as always.
Yeah, definitely. We will get into everything from the main challenge, especially, I think, being sort of the top story here. But the panel would not be complete without Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
I'm well. A little perplexed about this episode, but glad that I'm going to have like a bit of a post-mortem to help me digest whatever the F this was.
Yes, honestly, I think that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
we gotta get through it. Okay, so I just want to okay, I'm just gonna kick things off. Look, here's a little bit of an insight into my mentality about podcasting in general. First, I love podcasting. I'm so blessed every day that I get the opportunity to talk about the shows that I love, and I try to come in with a lot of positive energy. Even if it's a crappy episode, let's try to see the best. And I really struggled with this main challenge. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hated this episode. I just felt like the maxi challenge was so poorly designed. It was so boring. I don't even know really even how to judge it. The only part I liked was Ru slapping all the bitches, including the whole montage of the crew afterwards. That was easily my favorite part. The mini challenge does bump up the episode a little bit. I did enjoy the mini challenge, but look, I'm not gonna lie, Beth. I did not like this maxi challenge at all. I thought it was so boring.
Okay, so I hear that. Okay. I share in most of those thoughts, but not quite to maybe the degree that you do. I think this is the worst episode of the season. I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
But that said, bring you into a little bit of my world. I said, I need to enjoy this a little bit more. And I had a little bit of help relaxing, we'll say it that way. And I think the episode makes a hell of a lot more sense and is a lot more entertaining when you watch it, maybe not sober. So I would just like to say that as someone who experienced this, pro tip, would 10 out of 10 recommend watching it under the influence, as long as you're of age, and of course that it is legal to do so. But that is all I have to say. Otherwise, I share completely, but I did have moments where I was like, this is for me. And I think it was purely because I was a little high at the time. Just full transparency.
Aman, where do you come down on your feelings?
Sobriety? No. Okay.
Yes. This is actually my intervention, please. I'm sure. Yes.
So I mean, I like acting challenges, and some of the times I do like it when RuPaul sort of comes down and is a part of the challenge in a real way, whether it be, being the director of the Maxi challenge or taking part in it himself. So I thought that element was nice. It was nice to sort of see a one-on-one interaction with him and the queens as he was directing them and helping them flesh out the characters. But the finished product, I feel like, it didn't really speak to me as much. I got the impression that they were all supposed to be modeling their characters off of different movies that were typically known or TV shows that were typically known for having female leads that were a little bit like on the shady side, right? But I think the problem for me is because I haven't seen any of the movies or TV shows, so I can't really give you a critique as far as how well they matched up with that vibe. But what I can say is I feel like if you're going to have them all be different TV shows and movies, then why is it essentially the same script each time? I didn't understand why it was the same scene. It was the same. The blocking was the same. The slapping through line is funny, and that's fine. You can keep that in there because I'm sure there were slaps across all those movies and TV shows. But the plot was the same. So he kept wanting them to embody a specific version of a shady character, but it was all the same. So it's like, I don't really know how to judge this.
It also sounded like they had pre-assigned these Because
Yes.
I am very confused. I feel like there was so much missing from this episode to fill in some gaps. And again, that could have just been my state of mind at the time. But I was going back and I like rewatched them introducing the challenge like at least 5 times because I was trying to see like we got the kind of like, oh yeah, well, I'm doing, Valley of the Dolls and I'm doing blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, but like where was the explanation that said, before the season came, we did this. Or, I mean, I know they didn't do that necessarily in other seasons, but just something that showed like, Nina West, you'll be doing blah, 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 blah. Like going through, just like they have in other seasons where people had pre-assigned characters. You think of like Herstory of the World, where all of the All-Stars 2 cast had people who were like, they brought an outfit for that particular challenge and they were assigned those people before they came. I have a feeling it was the same way considering they made the scripts like as if that drag character was actually this character from this thing, but we're all going to make them the same character. Like that's where it was just so completely bizarre to me. So I feel like even just having something that show a little bit of the education, because in RuPaul's own words, like if you're going to do someone from Snatch Game that is lesser known, like and is an older character, your job is to try to like educate people to want to go back and watch this. I have no desire to go back and watch a lot of these movies and such that maybe I haven't now because he just assimilated them into like one script.
And I feel like the show is usually pretty good at paying homage to the references. I feel like whether it's a character in Snatch Game or if it's a challenge like this where it's obviously supposed to harken back to something, I feel like RuPaul does a good job of sort of, or not even just RuPaul, but the editors or production just does a good job at fleshing out a little bit so that we can understand the reference. But on top of that, I feel like another reason as to why it sort of like didn't register was that they weren't playing characters, they were playing themselves as if they were those characters. So I'm like, okay, so like so like, and this kind of leads into like who I felt like should have probably won. Because you let them be themselves, right? And I feel like what it's going to come down to is who sort of made RuPaul laugh the most. And I feel like when it comes to acting challenges, Vanjie's always accused of being herself, but always being funny. Here, she was allowed to be herself, and she was still funny, yet she didn't.
She she didn't see Showgirls, and so she doesn't know the references really. And she's, oh yeah, I watched it. I was like, I don't know if you did. It's one of the few things. But that's what's so hard, right? Like they're supposed to be like, they wrote the scenes for each drag queen's drag character and what we know about them. So like Georges was a lot about getting high all the time. And so it's supposed to be Georges, but Georges as the character from the movie, and I can't even tell you which one it was off the top of my head now.
Boys in the Band.
Boys in the Band, thank you. Was supposed to be playing, based off of that character, but it's also George's character. But at the same time, everybody's just going to play the same character. Like that was what was weird. If they had structured it so they all had a different kind of interaction that led to some big thing that wasn't RuPaul just being a spitting, slapping machine at the end, like I actually think that this would have worked incredibly well. If they had expressly said, you're going to fit your drag character, or we have pre-written these lines based off of the drag character you have provided in your last season on Drag Race. And you will be expected to try to combine your character with the iconic movie or television show character that you're doing. Like just something like that tells the queens and us what is the rubric. Because then I think it helps a little bit more. But we got like no lead up. It was right into them just talking as if we were supposed to know what they were doing.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think to frame the description that we were given in the episode is that they are paying tribute to classic camp movies. For example, Valley of the Dolls, All About Eve, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't list all of them, right?
Right.
And they will be acting in Meeting in the Room with RuPaul. Their characters were all designed for them. So again, it was like, okay, are you all acting together? No, you're not all acting together. You're you're in individual scenes, okay, then why, as Aman mentioned, is the blocking all exactly the same? And why are we getting like no references to the, I mean, so that's the thing. And you guys have talked about this. They do it in the finale a lot when they're talking about people. Like they did the whole Elvira tribute with like her history and everything like that. Like we saw no clips from any of the movies or anything. And so I've only seen a handful of them. So those are the ones that I was not personally familiar with. And it would have been nice to at least have some element of context because we just didn't get that. So that was like one issue in and of itself. And then the second issue is the repetitive nature that you guys have already touched on. I think that was also one of the things that I hated. It just made it so boring to me. And not that the queens weren't giving like decent performances, although I was super distracted by them essentially reading off of the teleprompter the entire time, which I get, it happens, right? Like to memorize all those lines, that's very tough. But I just I wanted to see them act together. I think the one thing Aman mentioned about getting the one-on-one interactions with RuPaul, I do think that that's really important. But you can do that with Ru directing, not necessarily with Ru doing one single individual scene with everybody. I don't know. There were so many reasons why this did not click for me.
And I'm going to be very frank. I think RuPaul is an incredible actor and performer. I think it's literally his strongest thing that he does is be a comedic actor in a campy, shady kind of way. Like you can tell he's been a student of all of these kind of films. So unfortunately for everybody, except for maybe a couple of people, he stole the show for everybody. And if the challenge is out-act RuPaul, then they have to have different scripts to work off of because he's going to have the advantage every single time. Anyway, it's a show, but he is also going to be doing the exact same scene every single time. And he's going to know, okay, last time I did a dramatic look this way. And this time I'm going to look away from them and I'm going to do this. And like the camera and us as audience members, we want to see how Ru is reacting to them. And I preferred, this is one of the few times I didn't want to watch the final product. I just wanted to watch them working with Ru because that's the magic of this episode.
I mean, I guess that's what it's supposed to be. Like this challenge isn't so much an acting improv challenge. It's more so a vibes with Ru challenge, which great. That's cool for the queens. That's cool for RuPaul. It doesn't necessarily translate that well to the audience. At least I don't think it did for me. I didn't like the fact that they were reading off of the teleprompters. If Ru has to read off a teleprompter, fine, whatever. It's his show, whatever. But I feel like the queens constantly looking to the side, it was also very distracting. And this is from a show that is always harping on the queens to memorize their lines. And I felt like that would have given us a little bit more of something else to critique. But if everyone doesn't even have to memorize anything and it's all just about vibes, that makes it harder as a viewer to really know what to look for other than for RuPaul to be laughing. I feel like the editing, like you're right, Liana, like they should have like it just watching each one back to back to back to back and getting the similar beats over and over again wasn't interesting to watch. I would have much preferred if they had spliced supercut of all of them together and sort of like did like, you know, they just capturing the similar beats of each performance but
yeah.
Whatever.
Or like interwoven the stories somehow, or I don't know, or do them in pairs maybe. I don't know, just something.
No, I think that's a good point. I think that's a great idea. I think they should have done this in pairs. We could have had 4 scenes. And when you think about it, like back in season 6, when they did like the Scream Queens kind of challenge where they had the 60s version and then the 80s version, like that worked, even though it was the same script. I mean, it worked also. I mean, RuPaul wasn't in that, but it worked because they had different references that they were working off at different time frames, right? Well, when the references are getting lost because it's the same script every single time, they lost whatever they did when they formulated that challenge. That was really successful, and we all still talk about it to this day. And part of it was successful because of how poorly some of the queens did. Like, that's also exciting and fun to watch people get the same note over and over and over and over and over and over and then like not nail it. I don't know. I always find that kind of funny myself. But I have a theory about the teleprompter thing, which is that when you look at any of these different acting challenges where they've had people like act as if they're shooting a television show, for example, they've always had problems telling them where to face. And I feel like by saying, we're going to put a teleprompter here so you know not to look exactly right at RuPaul, but you got to cheat out a little bit like you're in a theater. I feel like that was more so that they could maximize Ru's time and not keep being like, no, you have to look over here. You have to look over here. And they could focus on the other aspects of it. But even so, it was so distracting. Like watching Georges read was like,
Yeah. For me, it was Plastique. I was just like,
oh,
this is so awkward.
Chanel, Plastique, and Georges to me were just like, what are we doing here?
Georges was high. I guarantee it.
She really full
method acting. I felt it. I was like, girl, yes, I'm here for you. But I just
yeah. I am. At the end of the day, like I do commend the producers for trying something else. I hope that now we've learned our lesson. We will never do anything like this again. Very fun little test. We love that. And now it's over. Please don't do that ever again. For all the aforementioned reasons, the rehearsal, easily my favorite part. Well, the mini challenge was actually probably my favorite part of the entire episode. But the rehearsal, when it comes to the maxi challenge, was a favorite because Roxy just laughing and breaking character, Nina going for it. All of that was very fun. And to see them have that chemistry or lack of when it comes to Chanel with Ru, that was all very enjoyable. But the final product, I think the other issue is it was so long. It was 14 minutes, which in the grand scheme of things, 14 minutes is not that long. It felt like an eternity, to be honest.
I thought that was just me. And now that makes me feel really good because I didn't go back to see how long that was. I felt like I was sitting there and I was like, didn't I just watch that? I just watched. Yeah. Wait, what's happening? And then the slap montage. My favorite is that when she smacks Raven, who's out of drag, obviously because David is working. Slaps David, and David is so quick to he's about to go this way, and then he realized he got slapped this way, and he's just like, okay. It's just so bad. And I was dying laughing. But anyway.
Yeah. That was the best part. The montage at the end of all the slapping. I like the guy who was like, I think it was the very last one, and he was smiling as he sort of spun around. He was just like, that really made me laugh.
Imagine all those people who are various parts of the crew, though, who like work tirelessly on the show and then get a moment where they get to be on camera being slapped by RuPaul. Like, that's got to be amazing.
I would pay to get slapped by RuPaul. Okay.
Honestly,
either a kinky or non-kinky way. Either way, I'm fine with it. It would be a dream come true.
One of them got like one of these, like a whoosh, and then I was like, damn.
He was like,
that person might be
he goes, come back fired. Here, like that, and I was like, okay, great. But I think that's what RuPaul should do at DragCon. Stop taking photos where you're 15 feet taller than everybody next to you, and instead come up and have a video GIF of him slapping you, and then you get it sent to your phone. There you go, DragCon. I just made you $1 billion. Please let me come run the booth and get slapped by RuPaul.
Love it.
Next thing you know, RuPaul throws his back out, winding up.
Slap.
And then season 17 is canceled.
Then it's Asia O'Hara's Drag Race. That's what it is. Yeah. When he accidentally does hit like multiple people. Yeah.
You know, that would be an iconic season of Drag Race where RuPaul, heaven forbid, actually has a medical emergency, but for whatever reason cannot be there the entire time. And each episode, you just have a Ru girl that comes to be the host every episode.
I love that. That would be so funny.
Plus a little audition.
Yeah. Oh, God. We would have to put together like our list, or like, if there are 14 episodes, say that there's one where it's RuPaul's Drag Queens Drag Race or something. That's the season. And like, who are the people that should be the judges and go down? Like, they aren't all necessarily winners, in my opinion, So I think that there's some really funny people we could choose for that. But anyway.
Let's talk about the individual performances as much as we can even say about them. We're doing our due diligence, people. All right. We are going to go through one at a time. Although, to be honest, I don't have a lot to say. We're going to kick things off with Nina. Obviously she was very dramatic. She ends up being in the top 2 for this week. I think she did a good job, Beth. I mean, she is an actor. That is what she's known for. So I think that she was able to execute as best as she could, given the circumstances.
Well, I mean, Nina understands camp, and this is what she does. She is a camp queen. So I expected the most from her. Like, everyone wants to say that she's a comedy queen and, oh my gosh, it was disappointing she didn't get in the fight. Well, I don't think anybody said it was disappointing last week, but I think that what we have to remember is that she's a camp comedy queen. So she knew exactly how big and overdramatic, how to say the words, the nonverbal communication, the body language, facial expressions, whole 9 yards. She knew her beats, she knew her lines. She was a professional. And for me, by far the best actor of everybody, as we expected. And I do think it was deserved she was in the final two, or the top two.
Yeah, I thought she did a pretty good job. I mean, she was the first person to sort of initiate the slap. She slapped RuPaul first.
Yeah, some of them had different slaps. Like Ru would slap them, they would slap Ru. Some of them didn't get slapped at all. It was just weird.
Slap each other.
Drinking pee. We'll get to that. Yeah,
oh my God, I forgot about that.
So weird. What the fuck? And then she finished it. Anyway, yeah, Nina West was fine. I thought that her delivery was, everything we would expect from Nina West. I do think that she does still suffer, at least in my opinion. Sometimes it does feel a little too rehearsed. It feels too like, I know exactly what I'm going to do because this is what I do for a living, which isn't necessarily her fault. But I do think that when you have other types of personalities, specifically for this challenge, when it is about the queen's personality, I think when you have bigger personalities that are able to make Ru laugh, it does sort of like you look at Nina's performance and be like, I guess she didn't go far enough, which sucks because she's talented, So it's not an indictment on her. It's just, when you compare it to other ones, it's like not as strong.
For sure.
Let's jump into the piss drinking of it all. And talk about Roxy, who, so just for context, Nina was doing Valley of the Dolls. That was the movie that she got. Dynasty was for Roxy, which obviously I'm familiar with Dynasty. I've never actually watched it. And I was like, do they drink urine on Dynasty? Is that a thing? Tried to Google it, got really weird search results. Do not recommend. I
Go
think
to
the
your
answer is
incognito.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Be sure to use a different browser. You don't want those targeted ads. Believe me. But Aman, Roxy, again, I really enjoyed her in the rehearsal. It was fine. The final performance.
Yeah, I think she was one of the ones that sort of looked the part the most to me. I loved what she wore. Is there something about Roxy that we don't know? Is she into water sports? I don't like.
Or is RuPaul? He's into coffee enemas, so maybe he's into water sports as well. I don't know.
Because if they said we wrote these scripts based off of your character, and then you have me drinking your pee, I'm like, what are you?
What do you think of me? What is your impression of me? Because a little sus.
Oh man.
What is going on?
I wish. Oh, go ahead.
I thought she was fine. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it just kind of occurred to me. I wish that if they did this, they had just said, a la the style of camp things, rather than doing a specific thing. We have written a script based off of your character. Think about Dynasty, Valley of the Dolls, all these different these movies and Showgirls, and anything that's kind of over the top, shady, boss, campy women who are over the top in every way. And we're going to make a scene about you. Then I think that this works. But that just occurred to me. But you're so right. If they had made a scene that was about me water sport, I'd be like, hold on, can we let's go to rewrite this a little bit, shall we? Or be very clear. Because I think that there's a lot of references that you could bring in, not from the movies, but instead from their previous seasons on Drag Race. It would have been funny if there was a moment where RuPaul had punched the ghost, slapped Georges or something, right? Or if that's how she tried to slap him and missed or something. You could have Roxy giving RuPaul a rhinestone tank top or something. You could have moments that are just really campy, but are in reference to things that they are known for from their seasons. You could have had Nina do the magic thing or something at some point. I don't know, but yeah, Roxy is an interesting one because I've seen Dynasty and I've seen a lot of parodies on Dynasty, and almost the parodies are almost better, which is something that's really fun. But I didn't get Dynasty at all from it, and I think that's that's not on Roxy as much as I think it is on production. I wish I would have had really big shoulder pads and like those different like they were really big.
Does someone drink pee in Dynasty? Is that a thing?
Not that I'm aware of.
See? I told you, I don't think so. Well, and then also, sorry, I just thought of this. Rue's outfit didn't change, right?
No.
Also throughout the whole thing, which I get for like logistics reasons, but then again, it was just like, what am I watching? Okay, anyway, I'm done.
One of my favorite parodies, as I'm remembering this now, is that The Nanny, which is my all-time favorite show, did a Dynasty thing, and she's acting like Alexis from Dynasty. And what they did do on Dynasty, and they didn't do this in the challenge, this is what I was really thinking, is they used to look directly into the camera and do faces like this. And like that is exactly what they should have done. And they didn't do that. It was like they just kept looking at each other. And I was like, this would have been a moment to separate out what, Dynasty does. But
Angeria is up next. I think she had maybe overall one of my favorite lines, which is the blackmail, what did you call me line. That really made me laugh. The look back, back to RuPaul, which the queens talk a little bit about later. Do you think Angeria did a really good job? I don't know if she necessarily like stood out above the rest. These all kind of blended together to me for multiple reasons. Yeah. But she ends up winning the challenge and gets another beautiful benefactress badge.
Yeah, I think that what stands out to me the most is the blackmail joke was funny, and then I guess RuPaul really was tickled by the shady side eye at the end before she exits. I thought that was the clear indication that she was probably going to win, even during the rehearsals. And she almost actually fell over when she got slapped by RuPaul.
Yeah. My favorite thing watching Angeria rehearse with RuPaul was that she refused to go back through the door and she went around the set or whatever. And like those interactions, like that's the kind of stuff that made this episode so much fun, is like how are queens, because all I can sit there and say is like, I would be Angeria in this situation. I get so awkward when I'm trying to like, be in my element and doing something, and I'm trying to give myself confidence, but then I'll end up doing weird things like not walk through the door and just like go the long way around. And if somebody's making a reference to it, then I of course will do a self-deprecating joke in it. And like, I just loved those little moments that we got to see. And I think I thought she did a fine job. It was Angeria being Angeria, as always. And I laughed, but I also just was like, I don't see this as different. I don't know. I felt like Nina was a good actress and she was like a good version of herself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I think there's pretty much like 3 people that if they had chosen them to be in the top 2, I've been like, okay, what? But everybody else, I'm like, I guess Nina and who else? Like, yeah, it's okay.
Well, so I feel like Plastique was the first person that I was like, okay, this is bad, right? Like I was like, because also that's the thing is the audience, and I do sometimes make fun of Drag Race for this, for being so overt about who's doing well and who's doing poorly. This was also very hard for me to tell. So the Plastique was like, okay, this is bad. This is awkward. This I don't like. I think Plastique will not be in the top 2. I also did not understand, Aman, the choice of her to do the like jaw off to the side. That felt, I guess it's campy. I don't know. I just felt like it was really awkward, to be honest. Michelle praised her for it. I was not crazy about it.
I kind of liked it. I guess it was just, it's supposed to be very cartoony. You got your face slapped one way, now it's stuck that way. Like, so I kind of liked it. It was, I think hers is probably one of the more shady ones, as the script. I was like, damn, like, so does RuPaul actually think that she's trying to like be the
steal, like, Drag Race?
She's like, you've been studying me for years. Michelle was right about you. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. So, I don't know, maybe this was just a precursor to Drag Race Vietnam. Maybe we're gonna get it. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, imagine.
That would be interesting.
I guess we'll see in the coming year or so.
6 months.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she definitely has the platform for it. She has the recognition, so it's not a bad shout. It's just all about whether or not she would actually want to do it. But yeah, I thought she was fine. Yeah, just fine.
I actually
It's so
think
hard to judge these.
I know.
Thank you.
I actually think the best thing she did was the mouth thing, because I was like, oh, she is attempting to act. Okay, cool.
It like sets
She's
her
not
apart.
just reading.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it felt like with her and Georges in particular, it felt like the kids reading out loud in class who like
Aw.
I don't
Like
know.
it's your paragraph. It's your turn to read.
It's your
All right,
paragraph, and you're like,
Georges,
you
this
know,
is your
okay,
paragraph.
great. This is your paragraph, Georges. I am not about to do that. Instead, I will blah, 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 blah. And you're like, good job, Georges. All right, Aman, it's your turn. Like, that's how it felt. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about
Yeah.
Georges. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, let's skip. We'll go back to Chanel. Let's go quickly talk about Georges. Beth, I mean, you already sort of gave your opinion. Aman, how do you feel about Georges?
I mean, I like the wig.
Yes, that was a great decision that it came out of the box flat. She kept it. That was
In
fab.
box shape. It was amazing.
Yeah, that
I
was
thought
good.
she was definitely the right person to be slapped a bunch of times as like probably one of the best movers on the on the cast.
Mhm.
And I liked the bit about her getting up on the chair before slapping. I thought that was funny.
That was good, yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
again,
fine.
fine.
I wish though, if the whole point was that she was high, I wish it had been a delayed reaction every time he slapped her. So like slap. Oh, like things like that.
Yeah.
That could have been funnier. I don't know.
If I hadn't have been told that was the character, I would not have known. Right?
Yes.
Like from any type of exaggerated characterization. So that was definitely missing for me.
We
And
got Georges,
we got Georges, very
but
cute.
we didn't get
Again,
Georges.
love the hair. Yeah. She was not Beth watching this episode in the episode.
Yeah,
you
I
know what
felt
I'm
like
saying?
I was more in character than she was.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we needed the method. Let's go back and talk about Chanel. Chanel's, I think her bit for me, Aman, was the bit for her was, is this a bit? I really liked that and that kind of switch. And then her just being like, oh, okay, I'm into it now. I'm going to do this. That for me was the funnest part about Chanel's. So in terms of the writing, that was probably the best thing that I saw throughout the entire challenge. And,
Yeah.
you know, she did again, fine, but it was very teleprompter heavy, I think.
Yeah, hers in particular, I was distracted most by her eye contact and them literally not even being on the same plane on the stage. It was like, I can tell that this is acting, even though I already know it's acting. So yeah, I thought that she delivered the lines great. I thought that she had like a lot of diction. I like what she was doing with her mouth. It was very, very expressive. But not one of the more memorable ones, unfortunately, which is so I feel for Chanel because like I mean, she talks about feeling a little bit inadequate and feeling like she can't keep up with, you know, her younger cohorts and everything, and feeling like maybe her time has passed. And I appreciate what the judges and what RuPaul said to her during the judging, saying like, look, like, no, you are Chanel. You were the first person to walk into the workroom. You are one of the most famous drag queens. You've been famous for about 15 years. Like, you do not need to forget that you are that bitch. Well, it's kind of hard to feel like you are that bitch when you can't get any damn badges. It's like if you really feel like I'm that bitch, then shouldn't I have won at least something by now? So I feel for her because I do think that in a lot of ways she is sort of like it felt sort of like a name grab as opposed to like, let's cast Chanel because we got to cast a season 1 queen, but then I feel like that she's actually there. It doesn't feel like she's getting the love that she deserves. Like, and I'm not saying that she deserves to win a badge just because she's from season 1, but I do feel like there were some challenges where she should have been a little bit more in consideration than she was. So yeah,
I completely agree because I do think that she almost went into this challenge with like the energy that Gottmik had last week after the judging and such. Like there was just kind of like this defeatist attitude, but I felt like she was just going through the motions. Like she wasn't actually there and with it. And I just genuinely feel like if RuPaul had said that to her when they were rehearsing, instead of waiting for the main stage, that would have been more impactful, been like, hey, I feel like we're not connecting right now. What's going on? And ask her that in the moment, because it's going to be great TV regardless, RuPaul. But you might as well do it when she's acting and hope that she does the rise to the occasion. We had our pep talk, then she like had an incredible performance, and now we can give her a badge kind of thing. Because I genuinely think that if she had heard that, she could have been fine. She's an over actor. We've seen her be able to act and give that energy. It's just, it wasn't there this time because I think she was too defeated.
I think the other thing that must be tough if you're Chanel is not only do you not have a badge, but the closest competitor to you has 2 badges. So you are behind by 2, and everyone else has 2 or 3 badges at this point in the competition. Like, you are very clearly the single outlier, and that must really suck. Like, really, really suck. I can't imagine being in that situation and then thinking like, oh my God, I have to keep doing this. You know what I mean? And it just be like, I'm out of my element. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. I would let my inner saboteur get it out of me. Like, I would just not be in the right headspace. So I think she's handling it genuinely, actually so well.
Yes.
I would be not doing well if I were in her shoes. So I just want to commend her for that.
Especially for the damn charity season. It's like, damn, like my charity can't get shit. What the fuck?
Yes. And oh my gosh, in this episode, she's like, yeah, my charity is for mental health and like anxiety and depression. And like, this is so not helping being in that situation. And
you know what
feel
sucks
so bad for her.
And you know what sucks the most? Not that you should feel like, oh, the only badge I got was one that was given to me kind of thing. But like, if they didn't have all that bullshit thing about like, oh, there's alliances, Nina would have given her a badge. So then she would have only been one behind everybody. And that's what kind of pisses me off a little bit, is that
or tied.
Or tied.
Who did she give the badge to? Roxy?
She gave it to Roxy. So I feel like if Nina had given Chanel a badge, at the very least, she doesn't feel like she's 2 behind. And 2 behind being both TWO and TOO. But I genuinely feel like you're sitting here going, it's the second half of the season. I'm doing the math in my head. I can't catch up unless it's another like, oh, win this last challenge, get 7 billion badges and go to the end kind of thing. And
maybe.
Well, it very well could. I can't wait for RuPaul to go, just kidding. It was golf rules this entire time. And Chanel is our winner. Like, and you know what? I don't care. And that's the thing that I think I'm realizing now is in this season, because it's a charity season, because no one's going home, because it seems like the stakes are so low, I genuinely don't care who the winner ends up being, because I'm not going to be upset.
Yeah. Honestly.
And I kind of like, I'm realizing all the things I've been trying to be open about and being like open-minded about. I'm back to just being like, could we just have people come back and do another regular season? RuPaul decide who the bottom 2 are. They lip sync for their life. The loser goes home. Like, I kind of want to just have a returnee season that feels normal, like a normal season, except for the drag is better. There's more on the line, whatever. Still have them play for charity if you want. But like, make them also win money themselves. Like, we won $5,000, $2,500 is going to a charity of your choice, $25 to you. Like,
I feel like the Fame Games thing should be like, that should just be added to all All-Star seasons too. Like, I feel like they all should just be able to show every single look as well, so that way the designers are still getting their just due. The money that they spent on these outfits, you know, it's being justified, and then they still have a chance to get a little something. You could even, you know, you could have first place, second place, and then whatever you want to call it, like the winner of the Fame Games. Like, y'all got the money. Y'all didn't had 16,000 like seasons internationally. The money is there. Okay, give it.
Plus, the Paulette Fund is helping.
Yeah. We had a whole conversation about the Paulette Fund versus palette versus like however you say it. If anybody has any insight onto this, because we don't know.
This was I videoed messaged both of them, and I said, I'm watching the beginning and I haven't watched it since the first episode, and I just realized that they're saying that the money is provided by the Paulette Fund, but it's spelled palette, like makeup palette. So I thought RuPaul just messed up the name, and I thought it was funny. But then I looked into it. I was like, oh, this has literally nothing to do with like makeup. drag or anything like that. So maybe it is Paulette as like the name of somebody's last name. I don't know, but if you do know, please put in the comments. So.
Let's keep going. We've got 2 more queens to talk about. First is Gottmik. And I do think, Aman, that Gottmik did a pretty decent job. And I wasn't as distracted by the teleprompter, maybe just because of the way she did her eye makeup. I couldn't tell if she was looking at the teleprompter or not. So that, I think, worked out in her favor for me.
I think she had like she had one of the cleaner scripts too. I think it was just like insult, which made it very easy to follow that volley. I guess plot wise. So I thought that that's probably what lent itself for it to be like, probably one of the better ones in my opinion. Other than that, I felt like I did feel like there were moments that she could have been a little bigger. I mean, obviously there is like a subtle art to the shade that you want to inject in it as well. Like the whole point of it is that, it's subtle. I'm just gonna, dig at you. But I do think that there were moments that required a little bit more energy on her part because RuPaul was ready to take it there at all times. So, but I thought she did a good job.
She was somebody that when I watched the final product, it wasn't nearly as good as I thought she was doing in the rehearsal. But I also think that she had the disadvantage of going towards the end. Where I was like,
you've seen it already 6 times.
Yeah, I was like, all right, and now what? But I don't know. She was somebody that I definitely could have seen be in the top 2 if Angeria wasn't in the top 2. I thought maybe Gottmik would be up there. I don't know. I thought that she did decent. I thought that I kind of said this last week with the roast that she's somebody that when you can give her kind of like that like bitchy California kind of thing, or like a diva aspect to that too, she can rise to that occasion. That's a good character for her. So I knew that she was going to nail the acting portion of the challenge, which she did, but I agree with you that she didn't maybe go too over the top. But in comparison to some other people, she did exactly what she was supposed to do. So.
Our final performer is Vanjie. And Vanjie, as soon as she walks in with her voice, I think she sort of like her voice changed with her different comedy voices. So she had like the really high pitched one to start. Her dance made me laugh. Aman, you talked about this, that it was like essentially Vanjie was being Vanjie, but making everybody laugh in the process. And I think that maybe the acting per se was not there, but it was definitely like a platform to allow Vanjie to just be Vanjie.
I laughed. I don't know why she keeps saying scripper instead of stripper. Like, what is going on?
I can't.
I thought that her script was like the weirdest. Like, she just gets smacked out of nowhere. There wasn't even like, there was no insult. If there was, it was definitely cut. She just like whoosh, like she pulls out some doggy chow and then just gets slapped in the face. I'm like, oh, yeah. I really wanted her to slap RuPaul when she was like, I do nails too. I do nails. See, look. But it didn't happen that way. But
I did like it Untucked. They were all talking about the different kinds of like, oh, like you like a backhand or whatever. Because that would have been great. Look at the nails and then backhander or whatever. But yeah.
And then slapped his glass eye out.
Yeah, very dramatic end to all of the scenes. And then of course we get the RuPaul slapping everybody scene, which was very funny.
Also, the eye was weird because it wasn't even a ball. It was like one of those.
Oh, it's like a flat.
It was
flat
or whatever, the eye candies, and it was just flat funny. Or whatever, just like threw it on the ground. I was like, what the hell? RuPaul, you probably need to get another one anyway.
Yeah, that was a really funny detail. I like that. It was just like whatever the prop department had lying around. Like it was an extra, like, the like braless bras that are just sort of like the little round thing. It was like one of those they just painted an eye on. That was great. So fun. Okay,
the first PA that he slaps was just trying to help you sneak out the back.
I like when they open the scene door, the 3 people in like the vests, like the
just in a row.
But like the first girl marches right up, like it's my turn to get slapped. And then like goes back.
Bruno too, like.
Bruce
Yeah.
comes out and smiling, and I just laugh.
He was having a great time. So good.
It was great that they had, what's his name? One of the producers who does one of the podcasts every week on WoW. He was, used to do recaps and everything, but he was the one who had the headset that came out, and he was like the third person to get slapped or whatever, and I thought that was funny. I was like, that's a producer.
Let's talk about the runway. Widow weep for me, right? Was the
yes.
Okay, because all right. So, up first, Nina. I think this is one of her best looks that we've seen in the season. So, this is a toot for me.
Toot for me, and I want to give a lot of credit to RuPaul for being like, yeah, it's costumey, but like this theme also can be costumey. Like there are going to be themes that are more high fashion. And I was like, thank you for finally saying something on All Stars 9 after 16 years of telling us that sometimes it's okay to be costumey depending on what you're doing and how you're executing things. And sometimes it's fine to be high fashion. Doesn't always have to be high fashion though.
Mm-hmm. See, and I kind of got more. Well, actually, never mind. I was gonna try to give her a little bit of props today. I felt like the first part of it, the first layer was more costumey, and the second layer was a little bit more fashion to me. But I'm looking at it now, and it's still kind of costumey, which is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Up next is Roxy with the pure white wedding gown with the axe that she had just murdered her husband on their wedding day. This is very gorgeous.
More blood. I wanted more blood. It's not enough blood. You took an axe to your husband, and that's all you got on you, girl. You showed up
very contained.
She said, "Stay put. I'm just going to put a little tarp over my dress. Hold on."
Yeah, that is what it looks like, because it looks like a very clear demarcated line. What she does and does not have the sparkle blood.
Her poncho. Yeah,
we needed more blood.
And that's the thing, like we say this all the time if we do like Dragula coverage, like they'll be like, oh yes, it was all blood, and it's like, but your shoes are like perfectly clean. What happened there? Like those kind of attention to detail. Like if she had blood splattered all over the dress and this beautiful rhinestone, it would have looked amazing. But it looks amazing anyway. This looks gorgeous on her.
Yeah, I love it. Angeria is up next. This is also two for me. I have to say the urn incorporation into the hair, that is, I think, what I like the most about it. I think that talk about attention to detail. That's such a little cool detail that she incorporated here.
Yes, I like that too. It's like it's really giving like Morticia a little bit. It's everything. Toot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a toot for me, but this is actually probably not one of my favorite looks. I feel like her shape is lost in the mixture of the two colors and material that she used. And I feel like I don't know if it's supposed to be like this Black Widow thing, or if it's supposed to be like the parasol umbrella at the funeral that's behind her, but it looks cheap in comparison to everything else. And I don't think it matches everything that she's supposed to get. If she didn't have that and she had like, I don't know, I think it'd be stronger, or if it had been executed differently. But that said, I mean, I got to still give it a toot, but it's not one of my favorites from this runway.
Right.
It's fair. Plastique is up next. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm glad that she explained it. My uncultured ass would never have understood. So I'm happy that she explained it. And again, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Gives Carson a wow, gasp moment, Beth.
I mean, this is absolutely stunning. And I always mess up the pronunciation of this type of garment. So it's like ao yao, I think, or something similar to that. But it is. They range in various different kinds of occasions. So you can wear some that are pretty plain. You can wear some that are really decorated. And if she didn't explain the decorations and everything, I agree with you, Liana, that I think it would have been like the story of how it fits the theme would have been lost. Because I would have just gotten, oh, she's getting married in this. Because I have a friend who's going to get married in one soon. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. But I didn't understand the widow portion until later. But that said, my goodness.
Yeah, did she explain on the runway the widow portion?
I thought she did. I miss that? I thought she was saying that like that the.
Did she explain it during the judging, or did she explain it during?
Oh, it might have been during the judging.
Okay, because maybe I forgot. Okay, so I'm glad that you said that because I was about to sit here and be like,
I thought that she
I was about to
explained
do
that,
the
like,
classic
this is
Michelle Visage thing where it's like, that's great, that's beautiful, not the theme, honey. Like, 'cause that's kind of where I was at with it. I was like, so where's the widow part?
She
You said that this type of garment can be worn for any occasion, special occasion.
right.
So I'm like, okay, I guess maybe a funeral could be considered a special occasion in Vietnam. Maybe, I don't know.
Mhm.
Who am I to judge?
Yeah, no. That's a great point, and that was like going to be my one critique for her was that she talked about that you wear it during special occasions, but I think what a lot of the other queens did is really work in the widow story piece of it, and I think that's the big piece that's missing here. It's gorgeous, but that like the main part of the runway
It's
is kind of
definitely a
missing.
toot visually. I just don't know about it
See,
being the theme.
Is it maybe because she's crying?
Well, that's what I was going to say is like her makeup matches the thing, which is still to say that the garment itself maybe wouldn't translate to a Western audience as being like more funeral-esque attire.
Right.
But I don't know. My high ass just sat there and went, special occasion. I got it. That makes a lot of sense now. She's coming out with the makeup that looks beautiful, matches the dress, and is, she's crying the whole 9 yards. I got it. Like, I don't know. But I guess
he could have just died at the wedding, but it would have been nice to have that verbalized.
It was very quick.
Yeah.
Like, damn, shit.
Chanel is up next. And oh my God, when she first walks in, her makeup is just took me out. And I really think that this is stunning. I mean, obviously the black cover up isn't much to look at, but I think it's really gorgeous.
I mean, this cover, when you think about people who have worn like black shrouds and then had a reveal, this is actually one of the better ones where you're like, oh, it's a hood that she's like escaping in the middle of the night kind of thing after murdering her husband and then being like, oh, look at who I am. Like, oh my God. This was one of my absolute favorites of the night. She looks stunning. And that's why I think I was even more disappointed that RuPaul didn't have that pep talk with her during the challenge. Because if she had done well, I really think like just given how similar everybody was, this could have been the thing to push her into the top 2.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. It's toot.
God, she's so hot.
Georges is up next. Another reveal, another black reveal. And it's fine. It's just tough when there are so many other looks that I think I was really positive about. They came before hers.
This just seems basic in both regard. Like, I'm not really impressed with Georges's runway this season. And I say that just because I feel like it's so one note. And she's somebody that, because she was just on not too long ago, I want to see something different than what I expected on season 14. And this seems like season 14 runways to me.
Yeah, the I didn't really get like the widow part of it, other than she came on in a black, fur coat, but then she starts crying diamonds. So I'm like, okay, so she stole the diamonds. I guess that makes sense. She stole the diamonds and now she went out to go dancing, I guess.
Okay, do you guys remember, like, I feel like 17 magazine did this. It was like, take your look from daytime to nighttime. And I don't know why, but that's what I'm thinking of. It's like, take your look from funeral to dance club.
Take your look from, sobbing that your husband died to, yay, I just inherited a shit ton of money.
Exactly, to go finding a new man.
I think that's what she's supposed to be doing, but I don't think that's the dress that you go out in afterwards. Like, that doesn't tell me that you just inherited a shit ton of money. That tells me that you bought a dress for a special occasion, but that occasion isn't, my husband just died and left me a fortune.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The through line isn't sticking for me. No.
She should. Okay, how about this? If she was like had the hidden diamonds or whatever, and she reveals, she should be covered in diamonds.
That's
necklaces.
There we go.
Exactly.
Bracelets.
That's like if she
opulence,
like frying the diamonds out and then just going to the red dress isn't like it. I feel like the story stops at the diamonds at that point. But if you had taking that thing off and there was just nothing but diamonds, they'd be like, oh, bitch, yes.
I feel like and I don't think she said anything like this, and it's been at least 15 years since I've watched Desperate Housewives, but I am so confident this is like Eva Longoria's character did something similar where like she wasn't supposed to be spending money or whatever, and like went out and then like revealed into something like that. And that's what this felt like. And I was kind of like, oh, is she giving like a little Gabby from Desperate Housewives here?
Yeah, Mark Cherry wrote this.
Yeah, no, seriously. Mark Cherry should be a guest judge. My
guest
goodness.
judge. I love it. Okay, let's talk about Gottmik. This reminded me of Aquaria's, maybe it's just because of the material, but the mermaid one. So I think that was why one of the judges gave the comment about like stopping global warming. And it made me think of that. So that's all I could think of. And then I had a really hard time thinking that she was like the candle or the funeral or whatever, because I was thinking about mermaids. My bad. That's like my own mental block.
This to me was incredible.
Yeah.
I really do. I really love the idea when she said, I think it was an Untucked, that she wanted to be the funeral. I was like, got it and done. She has this beautiful way of painting where she is already kind of goth. And that's why one of the things I always thought her name was Gothmic instead of Gottmik because of this kind of stuff. So when I saw her come out like this, I was like, this is her element. And I immediately got this kind of like gothic Victorian, but 2024 punk like aspect to it. With also, oh my gosh, she is the candles, or like this is so cool to me. Like, I don't know. I just thought this was such a unique concept. Where I have a disconnect is I wish that there was more of the candles on the lower on the legs, or to made like the dripping like all the way down or something.
Dripping, yeah.
Yeah, but that's all I have. No notes otherwise.
Yeah, I liked it. Obvious toot. It's like like her husband died, they had the funeral, and then she like became one with the house or the mansion that the candles were all lit into, waiting for someone to set her free. I got it.
It's a toot. Last up is Vanjie.
Toot, baby. Toot.
Totally. Yes, Aman.
It's probably some of the best that Vanjie has ever looked on the runway, period. And the ironic thing about it is that it's a corset. But the execution was just done so well. It really, and I got, she's at the funeral, but after that funeral is over, baby, someone else is going to get trapped in that web. So I thought that it was just stunning.
I just like the idea that she said, oh no, my husband died. I'm going to go get gangbanged now after the funeral. No, but like she walked, I don't think that I've ever been, and I don't mean this in a mean way, obviously, but I don't think I've ever been this sexually attracted to Vanjie before. And I was like, she walked out and I was like, oh my God, what? I'm very confused in a good way right now. This is gorgeous. And it's not like it's a corset, but it looks like it's like on her skin. Like it doesn't look like a corset with like the boning and such. Like it looks like it's almost like she's had lingerie tattooed onto her or something. Like it is so incredible.
It's like so skin tight.
The hair, the makeup, the jewelry, it's so sexy.
We haven't really talked about this, but Vanjie's new mug is not my favorite. I don't particularly like it very much, but on this, I think she looks amazing. I echo everything y'all are saying. It's a total toot. Okay, let's talk about the lip sync. So our top two, Nina and Angeria. What was the song? Lover Girl by Tina Marie. And it was cute.
I was surprised Nina didn't go full monster, because the few times where she was playing up the fact that she looked the way she did worked really, really well. And I was actually thinking she could win this lip sync. But then there were lots of moments where she didn't commit to what she looked like. And then we lost her. And I feel like if she had just done that the entire time and been campy the entire time as like this little monster person and just like, she did like the little Thriller moves at one point or whatever, but if she had done that all the way through, I think RuPaul would have eaten that up completely and given it to her. But because Angeria had much more of a through line of how well she was doing, I felt like she did edge her out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that Angeria just gave it a little bit more punch towards the end, where I feel like Nina lost a little steam. But I thought that was a little bit more of a Nina song to win, so I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
And I was for Nina. I obviously I understood the decision for her to not change for multiple
Makeup.
reasons. The song, the makeup, yeah, multiple reasons. I really want to see whatever the hell this elf outfit is.
With that outfit, or with the haunted woman makeup, would have been hilarious.
Frankenstein's bride's makeup with dressed like Buddy the elf. I just want that in my life. So I was sad that we didn't get that. But again, I understand the decision that Nina made, and I agree with the both of you. I think that Angeria probably ultimately deserved the win here. And Angeria, look, Plastique maybe was on to something with the Plastique math, because Angeria wins and snips Gottmik, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe has 2 badges instead of one of the queens that has 3, which was Plastique's whole argument, that is like, look, there are queens ahead of you, but you should really be blocking the queens that are at your level so they don't get ahead of you, which I understand that logic. If there's someone like way far ahead, like let's say we were playing the season and someone has like 10 badges. Okay, not 10 badges, but let's say someone has like 5 or 6 badges. Realistically, no one is going to be able to catch. Why would you block them? Realistically, no one is going to catch up to them. You're playing in that case for probably 2nd or 3rd place. So that I get, blocking someone that is close to you. But when majority of people, except for Chanel, have either 2 or 3 badges, I just felt like it was a little bit of an odd choice. But maybe Plastique is very persuasive.
That's the only thing I could think of. And I think Angeria just has like so much trauma from this snip business at this point that she is just, as long as it's not Roxy again, I'll do what I need to do. And I think that she also probably in the back of her mind, now that she's a part of the 3 badge club, she doesn't want the other 2 to come for her next. So, I mean, I get it. I probably would have gone for Plastique still, because she clearly is killing it in the game right now in challenges that you did not expect for her to win. So what happens with the challenges that you do expect her to win? Like I would have cut Plastique in a heartbeat.
I agree, because you've now had 2 like acting comedy challenges in a row, and actually 3 of them in a row. So you have to imagine that something is going to be more fashion girl group,
or like a design or something
like that. Yeah. So I would have to go with, okay, well, she's been doing well in the things that for the past 3 weeks have really been comedy. And well, she didn't do well this week, but the whole point being that I really think that I would have been like, no, we're going to block you. That said, though, I do think that Plastique's math makes a lot of sense, because I think in the beginning of the season, you want to block the queens who are ahead so that you can catch up to them. At a certain point, you have to block the people around you so that you can get up to that level as well. But I think it sounds like they're only going to take the top 3 queens or top 2 queens or something like that. So you can't play that game all the way through. You got to look at, okay, well, if Plastique and now Angeria are ahead, now we got to actually block one of those 2 so that one of us can catch up. So like I feel like it's situational from week to week. And I don't know. I think that Plastique had the correct math for this week. It's just unfortunate that she was the one that was ahead. But it worked out for her, I guess.
But the thing is, 3 queens have 3 badges.
Right.
Roxy, Plastique, and Angeria all have 3 badges. So, like, there's 3 already. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying.
You already have competitions with 2 of them.
Right.
You might as well try to cut. I mean, like realistically speaking, what do we have? Maybe like 3 more challenges left.
Yeah, I think.
But then,
who knows what RuPaul's going to do about doubling up and stealing.
Well, the last one is worth 5 badges, and you give out 2. It's
maybe,
like, what?
Aman, I really like the logic of like, how do I just not upset people? And if Plastique is more likely to win, maybe she won't block me. You know, I don't know. Maybe there's some logic there to that it's more a personnel decision than it is per se a badge decision. Though I believe in Untucked, she does talk about how the plastique math makes sense. But, you know, whatever. This isn't a strategy
Maybe
show.
she was also just afraid of Plastique's fans because we know those people
Oh,
can be
well, there's that.
rabid.
Oh, yeah, that I get.
I think that's a huge portion of it. You have to remember, like, this is the queen who has the most fans in the world and has the biggest following. But I would also point out and say, I think that Angeria has taken a lot of things personally, as I would in this season, where people have called her delusional. Now she's won how many challenges in a row? 2 in a row, I think. And 2 times where she's been like, I changed because I thought I was going to win, and I did, and blah, 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 blah. And she already got revenge on the first person who snipped her. I really do think this is her being like, and now I'm getting you back, Gottmik. Like, I think that she is like, well, the plastique math makes sense enough for me to want to block somebody who blocked me.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what happens next week and if the blocking has any impact, because to be honest, it has not yet so far. That the cutting has pretty much meant nothing. But next week is a design challenge, as we suspected. So they're going to be designing garments based off of RuPaul's hit songs, which, to be honest, I'm actually kind of excited for.
I'm so
Yeah, I'd hope that this is not a letdown.
Especially after this week. I'm tried and true design challenge. Thank you, please. Yes, ma'am. I'm here for it. Let's do that. And we, of course, will be back next week to break everything down for that episode. Don't you worry. And we'll see some kitty girl outfits, I'm sure, because I believe that was in the preview. Okay. Is there anything else that either of you have to say about this episode in particular?
I know that you really liked the mini challenge. I know we didn't really discuss it, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah. Oh my God, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I meant to go back to that. So the mini challenge was Fruity Patootie, where they just had to transfer fruit in the most fruit in 90 seconds. They could only carry it between their legs. This, to me, is the perfect type of mini challenge. It's a competition, but it's just so silly and goofy and a little bit subversive. And Nina, with all of the fruit, vegetable juice in her crotch, that made me laugh. I loved it. And Georgis's like jumping technique also was just so fun. This was so stupid. This was up to me with the what was the golf one with the balls?
That's exactly what they have, the swing. That's an all-star.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
They called it butt golf.
Butt golf. It was the same energy, and that's exactly what I want to see. So as much as I hated the maxi challenge, the mini challenge was probably my favorite of the season.
But what also was interesting is that they gave Nina wins and she wins immunity, but then she wins the challenge. So I love that we got the caveat, which was because you had immunity, we're going to give your charity money. And I thought that was a really good, because I know that, she talked about in the episode, like, I haven't raised a cent for the Trevor Project. And this is something I feel really strongly about. And so the fact that the immunity turned into money for a charity, I think was a good move.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Okay, that does it for us. We're going to close things out. Aman, where can people find you on social media? Is there anything you want to plug?
You can find me everywhere at Aman Adwin. BB26 is gearing up, so you can catch me over there. I will do a small little teaser that I do have a podcast that I will be debuting this summer. With another familiar face, not Drag Race related. It is Big Brother related, but that's all I will say for now.
Yes, keep them on their toes. All right, Beth, what about you?
You can catch me at AugustaWind11 on all my social media channels. Last night, if you want to go back, if anybody is riding the Survivor 50 train, Tyler and I on My Weekly Meltdown, I came up with a theme for Survivor 50, which is 2 themes combined into one. It's second chances. Anybody from seasons 35 to current, not season 40, because they're the ones who haven't had a chance to come back yet. And the theme is heroes versus villains versus vigilantes. And they are the 3-tribe format for what we've seen in the new era. So if you're interested to see who we drafted and who we were using vetoes on and that kind of thing, check it out on My Weekly Meltdown. And this coming week, we will be doing a Brant Steele to see who wins that season.
Ooh. And you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. No plugs except for if you're not watching the season of Love Island USA, I highly, highly recommend it. I am not a Love Island girly. I think I've seen like 1 or 2 seasons max, but this season is so much drama. It's really giving. I know Big Brother is coming up soon, which is going to consume a lot of our lives, but if you are interested, I recommend it. It's on Peacock. Check it out. Okay. That is for us officially. You can leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes. Rob has a website.com/drag race. Thank you to the whole RHAP team for all of their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.